Good evening and welcome to Kini News. Senior Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob has announced an extension of the conditional movement control order in several areas around the country.
Senior Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob has announced an extension of the conditional movement control order for Selangor and Kuala Lumpur. He said, this was after a risk assessment from the Health Ministry determined that the COVID-19 figures in the states were still high.
Atas nasihat KKM, kerajaan bersetuju untuk melanjutkan PKP bersyarat di seluruh negeri Selangor mulai 21 hingga 31 Disember 2020 kecuali di Sabah Bernam, Hulu Selangor dan Kuala Selangor yang dikenakan PKP pemulihan.
Apart from these two states, Ismail announced that the CMCO in Sabah, Port Dickson and Seremban districts in Negeri Sembilan, and the CMCO in Johor Bahru, Batu Pahat, and Kulai in Johor would also be extended until December 31st.
And now we'll take a look at the country's latest COVID-19 situation. This segment is brought to you by Blue Air.
Malaysia recorded 1,683 new cases of COVID-19 today, with 8 of them being imported cases. This brings the total number of active cases in the country to 15,140. From the local cases, Selangor reported the highest number of new cases with 692. Sabah had the second highest with 260 cases. This was followed by Kuala Lumpur with 197 cases and Negeri Sembilan with 174. There were 106 patients in the ICU, with 51 requiring ventilator support. No new deaths were reported today.
Perikatan Nasional announced the formation of the PPN Presidential Council after a meeting yesterday night.
Parties in the Perikatan Nasional government have unanimously agreed to establish a PN Government Presidential Council to discuss government policies and strengthen cooperation between the parties. This was announced in a statement by Bersatu Secretary General Hamzah Zainuddin yesterday, following a meeting among the party leaders. Party leaders who attended the meeting included UMNO President Ahmad Zaid Hamidi, past President Abdul Hadi Awang, MCA President Wee Ka Siong, Sarawak United People's Party President Sim Kui Hian, and Parti Bersatu Sabah President Maximus Janati Ongkili, among others. Hamzah said to coordinate the Presidential Council, which is led by the party's respective party leaders, a secretariat comprising all of the Secretary-Generals of parties in the PN government had also been formed. He added that during the meeting, they had also discussed forging strong political cooperation to create political stability for the well-being of the people and the prosperity of the country. Meanwhile, UMNO Youth Chief Ashraf Wajdi Duski has clarified that the UMNO and BN Supreme Councils have agreed to support the PN-led government until GE15, but it was not a component party in the coalition. He said, UMNO had brought up the idea of a presidential council since March, and the purpose of the council was so that important policies that affect the nation could be discussed with PN's political partners that joined them in forming the government to prevent disputes. He said it would also allow the parties involved to voice out their concerns to the government, such as UMNO and BN bringing up the issue of the Employees Provident Fund and loan moratoriums. Ashraf added that cooperation between UMNO, BN, and PN for GE15 depends heavily on the distribution of seats. And this means that the distribution of seats is no longer based on discussions between UMNO and PAS, but between BN and PN, as PAS has officially joined PN as a component party.
Bukit Gasing Assemblyperson Rajiv Rishakaran has offered a solution to address the rental racism problem.
Bukit Gasing Assemblyperson Rajiv Rishkaran has proposed that the Housing and Local Government Ministry set up a landlord-tenant tribunal to help resolve the rental market's racial discrimination problem. During an online press conference this morning, he said a lot of people resort to racial profiling to protect their investments, and a tribunal would provide both owners and tenants a quick and affordable redress mechanism to settle any disputes.
This is a problem that needs to be addressed. So, landlord-tenant tribunal will be able to adjudicate problems that both landlord and tenants face, including unpaid rent, but also problems that the tenant may face on their side, like a landlord who refused to repair a broken toilet, a landlord who refused to repair a leaky roof. And these grouses that both landlord and tenants face should not have to go through lengthy court processes, which is the only legal resort that people have today.
He said, it was also a practical way to address owners' often cited reason for their apprehension against Indian tenants, which was normally over unpaid rent and damage to property.
In that first hunt for houses, that was the problem I faced, where if I were to make the call, then all properties seem to be already rented out and not available. But if my assistant Vivian, who's a Chinese lady, makes the calls, then viewing is available. And from that, I found my first place. Ironically, the landlord was an Indian.
Rajiv added that once breaches of contract can be dealt with by a mechanism that is easy and accessible to everyone, then landlords will be in a better position and would not resort to racial profiling. They would also be more comfortable in opening up to rent to anyone, as the tribunal will help drive the risk of renting down.
UNESCO has recognized the Pantun and the Wangkang ceremonies as intangible cultural heritage.
The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO, has listed Pantun and the Wangkang ceremony under the representative list of the Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity category. The Wangkang ceremony was jointly nominated with the People's Republic of China, and Pantun was jointly nominated with Indonesia. In her message of thanks, Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Nancy Shukri said that the Wangkang ceremony had become a symbol of friendship between the Chinese and Malaysian people.
Ladies and gentlemen, the inscribed element has become a symbol of friendship between the Chinese and Malaysian people. The joint nomination is a concrete cooperative action by China and Malaysia for the implementation of the convention, which highlights the common concerns and responsibilities of the two peoples and their cross-border safeguarding efforts.
She said she hoped to inspire stronger ties of friendship with Indonesia as well through the nomination of Pantun.
This inscription is an uplifting moment for Malaysia and Indonesia, whereby our joint nomination has been acknowledged as a treasure worth preserving.
Malaysia now has 5 intangible cultural heritage listed under the representative list. Nancy added that the listing showed the country's commitment to protecting its intangible cultural heritage. She said, this had also indirectly raised Malaysia's visibility in the eyes of the world as one of the countries with various treasures that can be national tourism products.
Later tonight, French President Emmanuel Macron has tested positive for COVID-19. All that and more after this. Stay tuned. Welcome back. European leaders are rushing for tests following news that French President Emmanuel Macron has tested positive for COVID-19.
President Emmanuel Macron tested positive for the coronavirus on Thursday, prompting a track and trace effort across Europe following numerous meetings between the French leader and EU heads of government in recent days. In a statement made on Thursday, the President's office said that the diagnosis was made following a PCR test performed at the onset of the first symptoms. The 42-year-old will self-isolate for the next 7 days, but his office added that he will continue to work and carry out duties remotely. Macron will cancel all upcoming trips, including a visit to Lebanon on December 22nd, where he has led international efforts to resolve a deep-rooted political crisis. It is not yet clear where he could have contracted the virus, but his infection has spurred other leaders to take their own test. In the last 2 weeks, Macron has met with numerous world leaders, including the Prime Minister of Portugal and Spain, Egypt's president, and he attended a summit that included the heads of state of Germany, Italy, Belgium, and the EU chief, among others. France's Prime Minister, Jean Castex, will also self-isolate after coming into contact with Macron over the last few days, although he has tested negative, his office said. Political party chiefs from France's lower house of parliament, the National Assembly, were also in isolation as they had a lunch with Macron earlier this week.
European Union states will start vaccinations against COVID-19 in 9 days, after what some have criticized as a slow EU approval process for the vaccine.
States across the European Union will begin COVID-19 vaccination starting on December 27th. The start date will be almost 3 weeks after the world's first fully tested COVID-19 vaccination was administered in England. The vaccine was developed by Germany's BioNTech and US company Pfizer. England, which left the EU early this year, approved the shot for emergency use on December 3rd. According to BioNTech's chief medical officer, around 140,000 people have already received the jabs in England. However, Germany and other EU members have been waiting for the European Medicines Agency, or EMA, to approve the vaccine developed by Pfizer and BioNTech. As a member of the EU, Germany is obliged to wait for the EMA to approve the vaccine. On Thursday, German Health Minister Jens Spahn said Germany will start vaccinations if the approval comes as planned, before an online meeting with Chancellor Angela Merkel and executives from vaccine maker BioNTech.
In Germany, we will start, if the approval comes as planned, on the 21st and 23rd of December, first EMA and then the Commission on December 27th. The other countries in the EU want to be able to start and want to start from December 27th.
Merkel said that Germany was looking forward to starting life-saving vaccination. This came a day after the country reported 952 deaths related to the coronavirus, its highest daily number yet. Italy and Australia have also said that they would start vaccinating on December 27th, the Sunday after Christmas. The EMA is speeding up efforts to approve another vaccine being developed by Moderna, bringing forward a review to January 6th from an original date of January 12th.
Has an ancient Catholic relic just given off a bad omen? That is what some church faithful believe in Naples, Italy.
The blood of San Gennaro, the patron of Naples, failed to liquefy despite 2 rounds of praying by the church faithful, which some in the southern Italian city see as an omen of bad things to come. A vial containing the dried blood of the city's 4th century patron saint is put on display 3 times a year in the city's cathedral. When it liquefies, it is known as the miracle of San Gennaro, but when it fails, some residents see it as a sign of disaster to come. It did not happen despite hours of praying in the morning and a special mass in the afternoon on Wednesday. Priests said the blood was rock solid. Fewer people than normal were allowed into the cathedral because of coronavirus restrictions. Scientists have said that the substance inside the sealed vial appeared to be dried blood, but they cannot explain why it sometimes turns into liquid and sometimes does not. However, it's not the worst scenario. People get particularly nervous if the blood does not liquefy on the saint's feast day on September 19th, but less so on the other 2 days the vial is brought out, the Saturday before the first Sunday in May and on December 16th. The city's cardinal, Crescencio Seppe, told the faithful not to be overly dismayed. If something needs to melt, it is the hearts of people, he said.
That's all the time we have this evening. For more stories, go on over to KiniTV.com. Don't forget, we also post the latest headlines to Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, so follow us there to get the latest news updates. Remember, if you're going out this weekend, to please wear a mask and also observe social distancing. Let's bring this nation one step closer to beating COVID-19. I'm Daniel Anthony. Thank you for watching. And as always, stay safe, Malaysia.